and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. Hello there, beloved Ascension Pioneers, and welcome to this video topic here with me today. It will be another very deep perspective on what's happening with our new abundance paradigm, which is a message I've been receiving for quite a while at this time. And as you know, these messages that are longer inputs of energy come from also not just me and my direct spirit transmission, but also what's happening in the correspondence and the feedback I get from many of you as well. So that helps this process within our group consciousness as well. So welcome today. I put in some roses, red roses and white heart, because we are in the month of love, how it's called. Valentine's Day is coming soon, but also because we have this weekend a Leo in 22 degrees mastery degrees eclipse. It's a full moon, and the thing with this energy is, and you can read that in my most recent spirit transcription on my Facebook page, these ascension updates and spirit guidance that I do. It's all about that. The message is all about this new abundance perspective and what we can do to attain it ourselves, not wait for it or it's coming somewhere from, the future, some other beings or whatever. It's really how do we get to do that together as a unity collective shift. These are also available down on my blog, Diary of Ascension Pioneers, which is something you can read and attune to. These are regular Ascension-based updates, but they have a lot of wisdom incorporated in it, which is something that is a deep essence of what I'm sharing. I again want to remind you that all of these topics that perhaps I go deeper into, some people say the videos are too long for them. It's about me, not stopping this flow of this transmission as it's coming through. And when it's coming, I'm writing it all down, so just in case I don't forget anything in this retrospective. But it is as it is. Some of the videos I share more, sometimes I go out and about and I share short ones, but these are meant as deeper transmissions for those of you who really are doing this work. And those of you, I'm sure you're going to be watching it in full length. So thank you for staying tuned and just being with me as it is. Okay, so your presence is deeply appreciated. That's what I want to share. I want to say that we also have at this time, Jupiter now went back retrograde in its motion, in its movement. And this is all happening now in the sign of Libra. And Libra is about partnership and communion and everything that we, rather than just doing it ourselves, we do in tandem, we do in togetherness. And this does relate directly to our abundance, to our resources, because the sum of all parts in creation is always stronger than just us being individuals. We are individuals, in a way that we're really needing to develop our creative inner resources to our source spark. And yet, when we come out, what are the choices? What are the people? What are the groups we're going to be investing our time and energy with? These are important things to consider. So as I will share this recent spirit transmission with all of you, I will also give you some of the examples. I will share a vision and a dream recently that showed me all of this and put it into a bigger perspective as well. But the biggest part we are moving through right now is a collective, and a lot of us here who are volunteer souls, we work on these energy the solutions. We're dissolving these old matrix patterns by going into it, and we're doing this together as a group consciousness collective. That's why for a lot of us, we're feeling at the same energy at the same time, because we're cracking those codes, we're going through these resistances together. And that's why it feels that way, that why are we all experiencing this? It's a wave. It's almost like a wave of assignment that we kind of need to break through. And this is the transmission that I received during this very important things we're working on as a collective, which deals with poverty consciousness, how do we move through it, how do we really feel sustained, how to become self-dependent, self-resourceful. So as you know, I have already Basic 7 and the 8th additional mastery course that all teach you how to become a master of your own sovereign self. These are available on my page, and for those of you who feel ready, who feel called, that you want to step up You can try these courses, but the other courses I have, which are all meant as a part of the deeper sharing for those of you who do want to go deeper into this mastery training, their offerings, and a lot of them come more as a cosmic expansion guidance. In my book that's coming up, which is what I'm writing and working on right now, the journey of a mission of volunteer souls within the grand design will focus on all of what I share, kind of like together in a one compiled essence. And it will be really deep and emphasizing all of these things we need to go through as a part of our training and as what we're here to share on this planet. So thank you. Okay, long intro. With this Jupiter moving retrograde in Libra, we're now for a few months until June, we're really given the opportunity to look at, more deeper patterns where and how we're forging and forming these bonds with others, and whether they're really pure and coming from true unconditional love, or whether they're based on what I can get. Okay, this is how much I can give and reciprocate. And the last message I shared, this video is a kind of continuation of that as well. But mostly in my latest spirit update and guidance, it came through very strongly what we need to do to integrate this abundance. Because a lot of the people, they're really talking about, when will we be more supportive? What's the new earth? How are we going to move into this energy? When will we finally have our breakthrough, or more money, or more support? The thing is, these are not wishy-washy things. They don't just happen. Fifth dimension, or this density you kind of want to experience as in moving from third density to fifth density, does not happen without you graduating for all of this mastery that you on a soul level have been achieving and moving through on the third density. I write about this in my book as well. It's about the nature of you understanding that third density provides you this creative playground where you work through your relationship, because Earth is basically a relating school of mastery. How do we relate to one another? And then when we master that and we realize that it's all about love, and when we're ready, when we synthesize all of that and we're ready to culminate, then we can start walking those steps in the transition phase towards the fifth density embodiment. And the embodiment means you become that. So that means the actual demonstration of what you perceive as that density. So the density melds with you. You meld with it because of your advanced level that you're now ready to step into. So it's not something that just happens. I still have people telling me things like, oh, I can't wait for unity when we're all going to know everything. Well, that's not true unity. Unity consciousness does not mean all of a sudden everyone knows everything. We're all knowing. We're all, you can have unity consciousness right now already, that exist in you simply acknowledging where you are, which density you're tuning into, and you're still feeling unified, and you're still feeling unconditional acceptance of wherever you are, whoever you're sharing with. So once you master all of that, then you're ready to transition. It's not something that happens and now everybody will move with the same way. If you're not ready, and if you haven't done this work of integration, that means you're just not there yet. And it means you haven't made the transition, because you haven't applied all of the knowledge you've been given, because we are given all of that. That is a part of our new abundance. It's not just money, but it's all of the knowledge that's coming through this planet as the blending realities, as many dimensions are tuning into. This planet is once again co-joining with the bigger whole. That's what's happening. This is a part of our bigger ascension. And yet it's a place, it's sacred space. That's in essence we're creating within the New Earth template. And this will be all in my book. What does it mean? What it really is about? Because I see a lot of people are still confused, and they mistakenly, because of the lack of this knowledge, perceive it for something else. And it's not something at all. I always tell you that. It's not something that just happens or falls out of the sky. Like people expect these landings or extraterrestrials and all of that. It's the inner integration we're doing. And once a group of these souls, because we're doing that in a group synthesis as well, just as we're doing it individually, is ready, then the transition happens, and then we create that, because it's always about the template we as a being and as the group collective have created for ourselves. It's a platform we're creating, just as it is a gift of that divine grace dispensation for all of us. So first I want to remind you that during this retrospection phase, this retrograde, because Jupiter is a planet of expansion, it's not just good luck and fortune like some astrologers are saying. It's that initiation through spirit and what will expand you through that. That's what it means for me. And I'm a very Jupiterian person, because I have a lot of aspects related to that energy, how they influence me. And that's why I always, bring that to the forefront of all of you. which means that my sun, right, is in ninth house and Mercury as well. And this is what I'm communicating. This is the Jupiterian nature. It's all these higher ideals and visions which are getting us to embody this. So don't expect the new abundance, the new earth template, the new density come to you, without you preparing the space for it, without you readying yourself, willing yourself into actually being the channel for the embodiment of these higher essences that are the nature of the fifth density. Because the fifth density is all about cooperation and co-creation. So just as much as in third density we perceived as abundance is coming to us by struggles and means of us doing the work all the time, the fifth density is more about that co-creative genius within us, the within, and then shared in a conjoined effort with others. So that's how we generate this new abundance. And for a lot of people in this plane of existence, how they've been generating or perhaps piling up money has been based on mental activities. And a lot of the energy was mental, right? This, how do I attain it? Thinking, creating money with thoughts. Okay, I have this idea, vision, create. And it's not bad or wrong. It's just a part of the segment of the creation. And yet it's not all that you can experience as a being within the universal consciousness of all. So as you master that and you outgrow it in a way, because it feels so random to you all of a sudden, just because you've outgrown it, you're transcending that and moving into new space level. So that means you are in a way emptying yourself, and a lot of you have felt this emptying, clearing space of what's coming next. And this means this opening now, the blossoming, and that's why I put the red rose here, is this blossoming of our inner petals of the sacred heart that's opening to love being the basic creative force, which it is. So that's the fifth density. That is what it's all about. And this Leo eclipse, I feel it's a huge part of that, because Leo is the fifth house. It's the fifth density in a way. It's the heart. It's all about speaking our heart, creating from our heart, communing with our heart, and giving unconditionally and freely and spontaneously, because that freedom gives you the ability to be spontaneous in what you create. Not like, okay, I have this, and when I do it like this, then I have to get this in return. That's old. That's still very much attached and codependent. Now we're being more interdependent in the fifth density. That's what we're moving into. And those of you who are creating the space, this void that you can transition, you're doing all the work. And the work is to create the space. The work is not effort and trying, and making things happen. It's always been about creating the space for this new template of yours, the fifth higher density coming into you, merging in as a blending experience, right? So it's not about us saying, when will we be more supported? When will this happen? When will we finally get the world funds, getting all the money we deserve? Well, this deserving technique has been so limited again because we felt, okay, until we don't have it, that means we're not deserving. We had to master first this ideal, that this true inner worth and worthiness, which is again that royalty of the Leo, right? I have Mars and Venus in Leo in the 8th house, which is for me very much that royal, because I have the royal 23 degrees that are associated with the royal star of the lion, and they bring this higher refined royalty within us, which is the worthiness of our spirit. And I just mentioned this week. We went on our local hill. We were walking, and there's this house. They have one peacock, right? And my mom always says, there's this peacock there, and I never saw it because it's locked in this cage. But that was this week. I say something, and I just said the words, well, this eclipse will be about our royal code. And the peacock goes like, rah, rah, rah. Like, what? It's the first time I heard it. And when he opens those feathers, it's like complete royalty. That abundance is just like, it's just there, the rainbow spectrum of the human experience. And because you are loved back, and love is all nourishment, all the divine mana you need. So and this old template humans have been creating from this conditioned resource-based mental activities most of the time. And people in transition were still jumping from the old to the new. It's like trying out. I'm trying a little bit of this. And I still don't know how to do it in the new, but it's like a constant shift in between. But the new abundance paradigm is that which is you fully making the leap into the new. That's what we're going to talk about today. What this also means is that now, because when you truly create of the higher refined essence, you're creating from your spirit. So imagine spirit like this endless pool of light. Just today, the channel messages, my daily messages, check them out on Instagram and on my Facebook page called Ascension Pioneers. had this vessel in one of the photos, and this was the vessel for that pure unconditional life force that our own life force is a part of, right? That infinite container. And when we create our magical creations from that, we're always supported because we tap into that spirit source first. We don't consider earth as a physical embodiment, although we have bodies on earth, and earth in a way does sustain us. You know, when I go out into nature, I feel it replenishes me. Earth in a way is, because our bodies belong to it, is a part of our deepest sustenance, is the planetary life force. We can always, and we are connected to it. And that's one of the things, again, that will be in my book, working with life force and how do we actually tune into it. But then again, we also created this playground where we have money, resources, relationships, all of that, because we wanted that experience. But in this new abundance template, it's all about this higher creativity. And when we're creative, we're always supported if we're doing it from the heart, because the heart is attuned to the life force, because the heart is the vessel through which the blood, which is the life force representation in the most physical sense, it always pulsates, it always comes through, right? And it's always circling, it moves, and it feeds all of the rest of your body and the organs and the cells and organisms, all of it, and then comes back and again out and back. The heart is the pump that literally shows us how it's done in the most physical sense. And all the nutrients, all the ingredients we receive from within, and then at the same time from without as well. And that should always be balanced. The inner, the outer given. The inner sustenance, which you create through your life force circulation. I've talked about this before in my videos, how you can work with life force sustenance for yourself to be an ascended being, always flowing with your own force. And everything you receive, it's almost like an additional gift. So when you learn to co-create from the divine mana of spirit, the divine life force, the spiritualization of your own life force, you will always be regenerated, constantly rebirthed. Your youthfulness, your playfulness, that's true abundance. And then money, or whatever it is the most outer region extension, will also come to you as long as you need it and as much as you need it for the support of your mission as it is right now. Okay, that's the first part of the introduction I wanted to share. Now, everything I want to talk about for me in this week, and why I was so called to do this message, is because I had a really, really strong dream, pardon me. And in this dream, I'm going to read this from here. It all began with me being given a baby. And that baby almost looked like me when I was a baby myself. It was very much like me. But it was so tiny. It was an infant baby, a newborn, and small. It was really small. And it looked um, like me, and in a way I just knew, and at the same time it felt like a part of me and yet me. So I did not give physical birth in the dream to the baby. I was handed that baby, and I needed to breastfeed it, and that was, for me, was a new experience, because in the physical I did not have that experience. But in spirit I knew that that connection, that interconnectedness, it was so natural how this goes, right? I just put the baby like this. I had no knowledge in the dream. I just knew it, how it needs to go. The baby knew what it needed to do from the first start, from the first shot. And I was thinking about it before a lot about, mothers who in real life cannot produce milk for the baby, who cannot give, is because they have these heart blockages, and they're not them being sustained through the life force of spirit, because the spirit mana creates our physical mana expression. Everything is always a representation of spirit. And in the dream, I was about to breastfeed the first time, and the baby just knew what it had to do. And I liked it, and I knew the feeling, right? And then I remember how I fell asleep with the baby on the right side. It was so tiny. I was holding it this whole time. I was being attentive to the baby, like, okay, I can't squish it, right? I have to be this way. I have to hold it. I have to protect it. Fully aware and just watching over it. So now I want to give you this message of what Spirit then shared with me the meaning of the dream was. The first message is the unconditional giving. How when you're unconditional, you just know what you need to do. And when you're giving something from spirit, and you're, for example, in this dream, you're given milk, you as that divine mother aspect of you. So in the first message was the baby and the mother, they're one. These are both aspects of us. So the creation itself and the child of that creation. And the source, right, which is that mana flowing through, is the trinity of creation. So that unconditional giving is a part. You just know. You don't think about it. You don't question it. You don't need knowledge about it, but you just give because you are love. You're a part of that love. And when we receive of the divine, it naturally needs to be shared, and it's pure. That's what unconditional giving is. So we are both the mother and the child as one, and we have to come into that core awareness at this time. But on the other hand, and that's the divine formula for our new abundance, the new self and the new earth mastery, is on the other hand, you have the baby, which represents us. Just when we're an infant, right? The baby just is completely interdependent. It knows this interdependence from the world, and the mother is completely dependent upon the mother and the resources given to them because they're still an infant. And they have such complete trust. They know they will be supported. They know everything will be handed out to them. And that unconditional trust, on the other hand, is when the baby fully knows and trusts life. It trusts that it will receive everything that it needs for its nourishment and sustenance that will be provided for it. So this other hand of the divine equation is unconditional receiving. So it's not give and take, not the same thing. It's unconditional giving. It's pure, born of spirit, and then unconditional receiving. So the baby is fully dependent and vulnerable on the external resources, and yet it knows because it does not perceive it in separation, because the baby and mother are always one. And when we look at that and translate it into the way we live our lives, is when we live in that formula ourselves, we're given the nourishment through spirit. We provide the nourishment to first the inner child, the inner aspect of us. The first inner child is always a physical body. It's the template. That's when we have our astrology. The ascendant in our chart can read as our physicality, as our personality, but at the same time our body. That's what is described like this, because it does relate to that aspect, which is our child, our birth, our birth itself, our physical self in creation. So when people speak about this new abundance and money, when is it finally going to come to us? When is the new earth going to come to us? All these things. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because it's funny in a way. We do those things sometimes. So we want it, right? But in a way, I still see that there's so much conditionality placed on we want it, instead of why don't we ever think of you being that earth, new earth being already yourself. You're the prototype. You were given to this gift of life right now, sharing itself the way you best can. Not all people have abundant resources of money. Some people have knowledge. Some people have great advice. Some people have maternal skills. There's mother who couldn't provide the milk. Then there's other, beings who do that, who are given, and then they share it themselves in that way, unconditionally, even if that's not their own child, because it's not about that, because we're all children of divine creation and life. So we should start asking different questions now. Not, okay, when are we finally going to get it? What can we get? What are we finally going to get back? Is that unconditional giving when you don't expect to receive. And a lot of the people have lost this innocence, because that day when I channeled this message, I was cleaning up my cards, right? My oracles, and putting some things in them and organizing them. I said, okay, I'm going to pull some cards additionally. And I got 3 cards of this mother holding a baby, and they were all about innocence and purity. And that's the vulnerability within us that sometimes it's hard, because I live that way. I don't know when I'm going to get my physical resources, and I have to have such pure trust and faith, because I don't base my knowledge and what I know and sharing here with you as a volunteer soul and creation pillar. And I have to stay true to that purpose, because creation pillars were the basic foundations of bringing those pure sigils, which are the divine signatures of life, how it was in purity before it was distorted on this planet, and other realities too. We have to bring that back. So we have to physically embody that purity. We have to physically demonstrate that. So it does begin with asking different questions and demonstrating love and demonstrating that unconditionality to yourself first, to people in your environment, to your families, to your children. That's very important, because children are also, in a way, they're directly receiving that way, but also teaching us about this. And we have to return to that innocence and thinking, what can I provide? What can I do? Not just what can I get and then I'll give, because a lot of people are always suspicious, always lurking, like, what can I get? On the other hand, if it's not pure heart centered and conditionally, you're always going to get something back as a boomerang of energy showing you of what you've created when it wasn't coming through the truth of pure love. So in order to receive, we have to unconditionally be willing to give freely, abundantly, and that means spontaneously in flow. So for me, most of my giving is wisdom, because I come from these high realms of illumination. And for us, I always had this memory of group consciousness as a collective. And when I was here on Earth, I always felt weird, because here everyone is so alone and isolated in their own units. Like everyone is their own unit. And yet it's not truly like that. For me, that was so foreign. And yet I knew, okay, I can still, even though I'm alone in a way, it's like these physical bodies make us feel that way, but I can still work on a group consciousness level. And that's why I share messages with you that go outwards in the stream of light and divine information that can feed and nourish you if you're ready to receive from that source of higher wisdom that I receive and I was always connected to. And I've shared with you before that Elven, which is my realm of the domain of my soul, means the giving of life. Elven means full of life. That's how Spirit showed it to me. Um, so when we ourselves are willing to become that vessel, right, we are the prototype of this new earth, of the new human, of the new abundance formula. And when we have doubts, and I know for a lot of us, it will be sometimes hard, because the environment or the people we're sharing with won't always be that unconditional. But you have to continue to demonstrate that, because you were placed upon as the seed of this new Christed consciousness that can make that happen. Not just speaking about it or, charging large sums of money to people for the messages, but living the message, becoming the living oracle. That's what we are. So this pure vessel of divine abundance, the cosmic mana that you receive and then overflow with it abundantly. So a lot of the times, this idea of receiving can be based on false illusions and separation. For example, we say, I want to give, but when I have this and much, sometimes our mind says, when I have this and this amount, this is what ego does, right? It creates barrier for you to do it in the now. Then I will, it's almost like thinking how much you have in the pocket before you can give a certain amount. If I don't know, if we're talking about money or something, or donation, and we're projecting it to the future, finding reasons why not doing it now, is because we're constantly postponing. We're waiting. And the waiting means we're not worthy. We're not that abundance. We're not in the new earth already. We're not the new human already. And these are excuses we make on our own behalf. And excuses are mental energy. They're not expressed central experience of love, which is always in the moment. You're feeling love. When you're breastfeeding, you're feeling love. When the child is doing it, it's also feeling love. It's not just creating, receiving food, sustenance. I want to give you my own example, right, of demonstrating that through the act of resharing of my wisdom. I know it's hard for me because wisdom is non-substantial. It doesn't have like physical, tangible form. And people still who hold this third density awareness, for them, that does not have value. So if they see something, it's coming as wisdom and something that works with them on higher levels, because they don't see it, they don't put price on it. And they can put a price on it, which is true in a way. It's priceless, right? But when we donate to something like that as well, which is a non-tangible form, we can show that we also value those higher energies coming in, because that's what we're receiving, that's what we're valuing, honoring, and reciprocating in our mutual energy exchange. So I was many times even advised by people, why don't I do it more monetary based and monetizing for what I share? And I give it a lot of thought and pondering. And no matter how much, this came into my awareness, I always had the same answer. And the masters came and I knew it myself. And the feeling was like, but no, if I don't demonstrate it this way, if I don't give unconditionally, and this was hours and hours of dedicated work, then who will? It was like, who else will? Because I don't think about it, people sometimes don't donate to the causes that they're participating in because they say, oh, someone else will do that. We're always doing that. And my feeling was like, who else will do that if not me? Because there is only me from the perspective of my heart. That's what I'm living. I'm experiencing love as me. It's not a mental experience. And sometimes we want to describe a person and we describe their futuristics and we say they have these traits and that, but that's not love. We're not feeling them in that moment. We're already describing them. And the same goes for the flow of what we're sharing, is we're always putting a price to it. And I know, and so many people send me piles of messages of gratitude, and yet I know it is priceless what I share. And many times I'm getting this encouragement by spirit, keep doing it, even as my human self sometimes experiencing these difficulties. And I will never ever forget how I watched this, sorry, pardon me, I listened to this recording from Larkma, the Pleiadian Group Collective. I really resonate with those messages because so much of my lineage of the soul is Pleiadian, strong resonance. And they said it will be the hardest for those first few of you, and they said only a few, who will demonstrate the act of mutual reciprocation and energy exchange in such a devoted, unconditional way, but keep persisting anyway. And that's what I felt each time, because someone recently mentioned to me why I don't do these videos and my messages, because they're so awesome and they help them a lot. Why don't I rather do them in, or a part of that, what I share in a, what do they call, paid subscriptions? And I know a lot of people do that. And I said, okay, I'm going to reflect on that. I had a thought about this before, but something didn't feel right. And I contemplated and contemplated again, because the meaning was, what the person shared was of great substance, because they said, your energy will never be that respected and reciprocated if you don't do that, because it will kind of give the energy back to your time and dedication. And I felt, yes, because most people don't think of donating. I have a friend who's supporting so much. Thank you. I love you so much. You know who you are. And they always tell me, people sometimes don't even consider, it's so easy for them to go in the store, buy a $5 coffee or something, and they can donate to causes like this. And you said it's amazing that you would even have to ask for energy exchange. And I thought, it's just as much as we can do. The thing is, we can't change people, or we can't change the way people are. It's their experience. But we can't give up on the high values and morals that we have within. So that was what was coming through as I contemplated on that idea of paid membership, or a membership forum, or membership content. And I was just tuning so much into that. And I knew it'd be easier, right? I get more money for me. And then I felt, the thing is, I need to keep demonstrating this. I need to keep demonstrating to people that someone is able to give so purely and unconditionally, and mostly just like this, out freely, so people can see that it is possible, that it can be embodied in a tangible human form, so they can more easily tune into their own, almost tears. Because whenever I speak the truth, we get these tears. It's resonance from spirit. And then even then I said, okay, I'm going to question myself even more, because it's good. It's good to doubt sometimes and question yourself, because it will leave you going deeper, and you won't just stay fixed like that's what I believe in and it's rigid and it's fixed. You will contemplate, right? That's the meaning of meditation and contemplation and higher awareness. And then I went to my mother and I shared with her what's in my heart. I said, as much as it would feel easier for me to do it that way, I don't feel it's a part of this new earth energy. I know a lot of people do that, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not against it. I'm not against people, charging money or whatever it is for these things and what they share as messages. But I felt what I mostly share is so freely unconditional that it has to stay pure. It has to stay unfiltered that way for me, for the level that I came here to share, because I am an active teaching of service in mode, in action, and I have to do it through demonstration of love. And then, of course, who was the first master? Which, master, a being of light, I will say rather, because masters can sometimes leave us feeling the separation between us and them, and it's no old term. But let's say a being of light, and I always think of Jesus, because he was such a demonstration of that love in the physical, and he had to go through many initiations as well. And although a lot of people say he was not poor, he had enough money, the family had, still, whatever it was, the messages, the knowledge, he never said, okay, pay me 5, golden coins, and then you can come and listen to my lectures, or, there's this group or whatever. There are certain things he only shared within a more closed group, because not everyone was ready to hear that advanced level of knowledge. But he had a knowing of, and it was unconditional. And I felt, who better to console than his spirit? And my mom has a really great connection with Jesus. He appeared to her many times, and as much as I appreciate him and admire him, I don't have such a direct link to him in that way. And I said, Mom, can you please, let's together hold the space and channel the message as a confirmation for what I feel. And she said it was incredible what she received after that meditation on this new, because she said, is it true? Are we feeling the right feelings about this? And she said that the voice she heard was just like this proud energy, someone really being proud of us. that we're doing it this way. And he said, you know, he said he's so proud of us for choosing this way, which might be harder, and yet it's of pure love, and that someone, yes, someone does need to demonstrate it, and it's a lot of work to be done, and yet it stays pure. And he said, who better to do it, right, but you? And in the unity consciousness, the divine equation is fully understood, and all work together as one. So this is the level where I'm coming from, and I'm not saying that anyone else that shares anything in any other way is wrong. I'm simply saying that my level of sustenance, my level of soul understanding and knowledge has to be embodied in the same way, so that the translation of my spirit in human form can be direct, non-filtered, and non-biased. And these are the higher visions and ideals that, for me, this loyalty means much more to me than just, maybe getting $100 extra more a month, which is, I don't think it would be any more, because people sometimes get a little spoiled. I'll say it like that. When you offer everything for free, they start appreciating it. I know. But the thing is, what I want to create here with all my messages and resources I put out there freely is, if you in any way feel guided, supported through what I do, feeling that you would also like to reciprocate, there's many ways. There's not just one. You can donate, you can get the courses, you can buy my art, whatever it is, you can, you just like write me something, or it doesn't, sometimes, I also, as a human, maybe I'll need advice on something physical. And, I'm just saying that this resource-based economy, it's not a real economy, it's abundance. It's prosperity, and thriving in it means that we're just there for each other, because we know that when something is being done for the greater good of all, it will always be supported. And that's what Joshua said as well. He said, and don't worry about a thing, because you'll always be supported. That's what he said. So I don't worry, although sometimes my human counterpart gets like, and it's true, I have to admit, all the time, I don't feel supported all the time. I don't feel I have the full energetic monetization for how much I share. No, not at all. But the third aspect, which is the most important one, is that I still know that I need to do it this way, because I'm showing the way, not just speaking about it. I can write positive messages about this, but I have to demonstrate. That's the greatest act of love, is being demonstrated in human form. That's what keeps me most attuned to being who I am and sharing spontaneously. Because the moment I said, pay me this amount and then you can read my messages, then I feel also obliged that, okay, now people are paying me this amount, now I have to do it for them. Then again, it wouldn't be as in free flow when I just sit behind my computer and know, wow, now I'm feeling it, now I'm doing it, right? And I feel the new abundance, this system we're forming and forging together, has to be spontaneous and playful, because that's the fifth density. And who better demonstrated than those of us who've known it, who live it, who know it from spirit, bring it here through complete clarity. And this person who wrote to me, was such a beautiful energy exchange. I know they meant only well for me with this advice. Later, I told them why I'm not guided to do that. And the person said to me, you know what, you showed me with your example that, I still believe in this unconditional. So they went on, donated a little bit, and I felt like, you see, it doesn't matter the value, the amount, it's you're being paid with for me, the biggest payment is when I see people shift. When I see people, they're making the steps, they're tuning into this new earth consciousness through their own new earth human self. And the reason why I do it this way is because I have to, as a creation pillar, I have to pillar that consciousness, and it has to be playful too. And when the human self gets worried, or it's like, starts thinking, why are people not getting this? And when I tune into my own energy of how that makes me feel, when I feel a bit disappointed or discouraged, or not feeling equally supported or appreciated or valued, because sometimes people come and say, oh, you saved my life, or your messages, how much I transform, but they wouldn't even donate $5, let's say, or something like this, okay? And the thing is, when I tune into my feeling center, I don't feel bad, because my messages are unconditional anyway. I don't feel like now they need to give me at all. But the thing is, I feel this sense of they're not getting it yet, and sometimes when I feel the true, not disappointment, but the true feeling of what I'm feeling is that people are not getting that. It's not about me, but it's about us becoming that source of unconditional love and giving. And whatever it is we're willing to give away, it's just something, whatever it is. Perhaps it's not money, but it's something you're saying, what can I offer to someone? Or what can I offer in exchange? And if you're going to read the spirit guidance, it talked about the fact that those who have been paving a way ahead, and a lot of people can, what happens in this scenario is they get dependent upon these beings, that the volunteer souls or the people with knowledge or the ones with resources are always going to pave us forward anyway. You know, like we expect from our politicians or the governments, not going to happen anymore. The systems are collapsing in that way because we're moving into the energy when you have to become your own source, research manageable, interdependent persona self. Well, not the persona like your self illusory persona, but individual human self, which is born of spirit and yet it's human in the knowledge and in the undertaking. So my biggest message here is that we have to in a way say that even though there's those paving the way, there's first few who are doing it, we can't come dependent on them and think they're always going to be doing it, they're doing fine. You know, I'm not always doing fine either, because there's a counterpart, which I call my human self, that still, you know, still needs food and clothing and, you know, all these things. Yes, that's a part of our world, but it's not so much thinking about these things that people who only focus on that. Most of my energies, you know, the focus is this. It's the higher knowledge, the higher wisdom coming through, because that's the resource that I provide to the whole, and that's what I'm best at. You know, I was thinking about this example. If there's a community and people go gathering food, you know, and it's like, I don't know, picking strawberries in nature, I don't know. And there's someone who's so capable of doing that, they get like these 5, you know, big piles of that and bringing them to the whole. And there's someone who's like slow and not so good at that, just bringing one. That doesn't make them non-equal. It just means that the first one, and they'll give the percentages of how much they gather themselves to the group, and the first one would give the second one would give as percentages from how much they have to the whole, right? So it always stays in this balance, but they wouldn't be considered, oh, you just give this much and this one gave that much, ooh, that makes you a little lousier in the picking or contributing. No, because the other one might be so good in, I don't know, offering spirit advice or something like that. And that's what the true community and the new abundance is really about. So now let's move on to the solution for poverty consciousness. A lot of people have talked about this before. The poverty consciousness has been engraved in the human collective. It's been an imprint that's eons and eons of age old. It's like a very old baby in a way. And it cannot be solved by mere techniques or energy work, because whenever we do energy work, it also means that partially we can start understanding ourselves as energy beings, but we're not. We're light beings. We're beings of light who carry the seed of the Christed love flame. That's who we are. So if we do energy work on ourselves, and energy work can only work on the levels when you know, as humans, as light beings in the human form, we work with energy. Energy is how we create. We learn to create with energy. So whenever we do energy work or techniques with dealing with just the energy, we do the surface of things. We're fixing the you know, perhaps a little distorted versions of how we create energy. We don't go to the level of the core. The core can only be resolved and overlighted with the core essence, which is the essence of divine love. So applying the divine love formula, what I've shared with you before in the beginning about the art of true abundance in this higher density form, is that only love dissolves all these false distortions and imprints. So perhaps if you have been conditional, if you're in your giving, do not judge yourself. If someone else is expecting from you and you're falling for those manipulations, again, don't judge them. You know, there's people who've been writing to me that they have depleted of themselves and the resources so much, they feel now guilty for not being able to give so much as they were able to do so before. And the thing is, that's again conditional. Whenever something makes you feel depleted, you have no more life force. Perhaps it wasn't even coming in the beginning through your life force, because when it does, trust me, life force is always constantly self-sustaining, which means that when you give, even if you feel partially depleted in the moment, you revitalize again, because it's coming from spirit. It's coming from divine inspiration and creativity. It's not coming from the mental act of, I'm a good person when I give, so let me donate. It's different, right? It's not the same. It's beliefs that make you, that propel you into creating a dynamics that will show you eventually, when it builds up to a certain degree, when you're ready to see it right in your face, that perhaps has been a little distorted. And there was someone asking me recently this question, They've so depleted their resources, so what do? And I said, I can tell you what to do, but consider yourself why you're so depleted. I said, look into the nature of the energy dynamics and what is the true meaning behind your giving, because a lot of times we give because we think it makes us a good person. Nuh-uh. It's not what my video is about here today. Following the wrong lines then, if that's how you understood it. No, it has to be pure. It has to be one spirit flame igniting the other spirit flame, as in togetherness and unity. And you give as much as you can in the moment, and you give from your heart. Your heart is innocent and it trusts and it's pure. That's why I always say, if my messages resonate, if you feel inspired from your heart, then you can donate or buy the courses or get the art, whatever it is. But I always say that. Go back and watch. I always say, if you resonate, if you're inspired from your heart. Otherwise, again, what's the reason behind it? And at the other point, what I've learned in my experience of being with people and communicating with people and being out exposed so much to the people, is I've learned that there's usually the same people who will always give, and these people don't have that much. That's a funny thing, because they don't think about money in that way. It doesn't have a meaning in them, and there's a lot of people who have a lot, and I knew a person like that in my own life. They've manipulated me whenever they gave me like a gift or something. It was like, but now I felt like this leash on my neck. I literally felt, now they felt they have power over me. Now I belong to them and they can control me. And my dreams were always revealing that to me. And just recently I had another dream about that being, and I was shown how manipulative a human consciousness, when it's distorted, can be. And that's not consciousness. It's just, whenever I say consciousness, and that's not, because the consciousness is pure, is who we are, our deepest self is a pure consciousness. And when we're doing things like that, we're doing it from an imprinted, distorted consciousness. It isn't even consciousness what it is in its true form. So for us to dissolve these imprints, and some of them get really manipulative, we have to really pour love into it. We have to say, okay, I devote myself to spirit, and I know that I will be in these higher ideals, and that's what will create my new resource-based abundance, based on higher creativity coming through the always self-renovating and regenerating life force. What happens at the other example, sometimes through extremes, is that people will just take in their growth cycles, they want more abundance, they want new life, they want new conditions, new relationships. They will take one set of beliefs they had in the old self, but they won't really dissolve them through the light. They will take them to the next level with them. So these beliefs will just kind of like spin out differently, get a little bit of different color. They will be masked around being more spiritual or more whatever, a little more fancy, but they'll just be replaced by another form of beliefs. That's again one thing to really watch for, to really master. And we have to really be observant and mostly honest with ourselves. Just because something feels more spiritual doesn't mean it in a core essence is really based on spirit. Spirit is pure love. Perhaps it's still just beliefs, and now it's really falling away. And when something falls away, it's just not for you. You have to be grateful for it, because in the bigger scheme of things, it's for you. It's for your greater growth. It's because you've already set the seeds of this new intention that you want to move into this new abundance consciousness. And then you say, but why was this taken away from me? Don't hold on to it. Perhaps it was a gift, so you could move in with the new consciousness. So changing the cover, just changing the sheets, doesn't really change what's at its core, the content, the essence. So for us to really dissolve these imprints, we have to do, only love can do that. And love is not the most powerful, but the only powerful force in creation, because all life is created from love. And when we live our life, it's a part of that. And when we try to solve equations and bring the new through something that's not self-substantial, which is the essence of life, then we're doing it just on the surface, So the falsehood also that's coming here as a part of this message, because it does deal with our being as a one group collective, one being in unity consciousness. One falsehood that I also noticed a lot is that there's a lot of new age beliefs based on delusion, and people say, when you're a master, you can do anything. And it's just not just one saying. There's coming quite in plenty, this saying that masters can do anything, they can eat anything because they can transmute anything, and they can whatever. Well, to the degree, if you just look at it and consider ourselves as being the singled out unit, that would be true, right? You gain your self-mastery, you're a sovereign, you can do anything, you're independent. Okay, but does it end here? And that's why I always say that abundance doesn't just end with you being okay, supported in your family. The rest you don't care about. Because when I mentioned that person before who I met, they had so much, but in their heart they were cheap. They were willing to give so little for how much they had, like that they could only be able to create on very mental energy created their money resources, and their heart was not pure. It wasn't just giving of themselves, and they had such a high value of themselves, but it was all mental energy, and I could read through them like this, and they got so vulnerable next to me because I exposed them to that. I said, sorry, actually you're cheap. It's just how it is. Because if I had that much money as that person had, I'll be like, okay, who wants some more? It's just like, why wouldn't all profit, right? I would invest in something of great value. I would create a retreat center, whatever it was. It would be invested in something, but not just like put in piles for safety for one day. Imagine, the banks going like, one day that person's poor. They have zero left because they kind of like put it all in the safe space, which is an illusion, and that space stops existing and you're left with zero. I mean, that's also a scenario that can happen to many people who will be willing to let go of that. You can't hold on to anything that's physical, and we're going to be able. You can't take money to the grave. You can't take people, relationships with you. You are a beautiful being of love, and love is like this flow, this dance. It's an art. So it's not really true that masters can do anything, and this is where it ends, just with us, because we're part of the unity collective, and our choices, our responsibilities always are interdependent upon a greater circle of spirit, of all life. So our choices do also influence the whole. Even us in our reality, we're not excluded. What we do on earth does influence other realms. So in unity consciousness perspective, it's not true. Because if our thinking of, I can do anything, but then it comes at the expense of other life form, like animals, eating animals, and saying, oh, animals serve me. It's so funny. And it's not really coming from unity and respecting all life forms. That's what true compassion is. So it's without taking the responsibility for our own part and the choices within the whole. And that's not really mastery. It's an egoic entrapment. And people who are not yet ready to really master their sovereignty, when they hear things like that, they start acting like, I can do anything, right? If I'm master, I can do anything, It's a whole lot of mental jibber-jabble. I don't know. It's not really how true sovereignty is, and we have to continue to move closer to the core. Okay, so I already mentioned to you that giving and receiving, which is also part of this message, should not in any way make us feel depleted and drained. If it's so, it's not based on unconditional love, because when you give unconditionally, you're not drained. When you give conditionally, it's like, sometimes you feel drained because you give too much. Okay, that's me. It's like, woo. Yes, okay. But even that has a message, a value in it for us. Sometimes it's to compensate those imbalances in the human collective. And what I've shared with you, that is my giving and sharing of the wisdom of the higher realms with all of you so freely cannot come independences, if they're not going to reciprocate, then I'm not going to give anymore, in that kind of way, right? It's not definitely going to be based on that, because it's not conditional. But on the other hand, I have to trust that there are those who will, through that demonstration that I present, perhaps see a light. And if it influences a few people, then I've already done a lot. And those people will spread the seeds further and further on. And people will finally get what it means to become the new paradigm, to become the new wave of abundance, because the new consciousness is a wave. It's not a linear, it's on linear perspective. When the energy is just coming in or just going out, it's a spiral, right? You're within the spiral. So we have to do the work of this conscious and constant exploration, continuously asking ourselves. And I always say, put these questions to the test that I put in the spirit guidance, is reflect on how you give, what sparks of the way you, if you want something, how do you do it, right? I'm going to give you one example. It was just this tiny example. I was preparing a gift for someone. We did an energy exchange, like little presents for Valentine's. And then I saw these cards. I had these oracles because I was just cleaning through my oracles. And I saw this oracle card pocket box that are rarely used. And I look at them like, I felt something calling me to give it also as a gift to that person. And that person said to me, no, you already give so much. Please don't give me that. But I said, I have to. My heart is calling me. I cannot help it. And then I saw in my pure heart vision observation, how much more joy would it bring to that person than staying there in my shop, because it was one of the oracles that I rarely use, right? And this is what the true through guidance, reflecting how you make something through joy and how you help to spark up that joy, and that is of the new abundance. So whenever it is that joy present, and I'm joyful doing these videos, it's not like all serious and preachy and that, because that's not the basis of what I do. And when there is that joy, you demonstrate the fifth density and beyond. So my example has to come through that and demonstrate unconditional giving. Thank you for listening. But before I go, I have a little surprise for you. This all went down somehow. I really recommend to all of you who love oracles, the Lightworker Oracle. I usually don't promote things or whatever, but this is a really beautiful one from Alana Fairchild. She's one of my favorite oracle people. Oracle people. I didn't tag her or anything, but she creates amazing oracles. And just today when I did the message about our communion, I got the heart transmission cards, right? You see, this is such a beautiful demonstration when you really, really give of your heart. And it's just, it's like these pink circles, right? Orbs of light coming into your heart, which is your heart will always be sustained. And that unconditional giving, this vibration, is what pulsates with you, with life. And when you feel like, oh, this thing inspires me, and whether it inspires me, I contribute, right? I contribute. And if my video today inspired you in a way, demonstrate that love. Not just perhaps to me or donating, or if that's so, please, thank you. I'm really gonna be grateful, because it helps me, and it helps me to devote to things like my book and so. But even in your life, in general, the things you feel are valuable for you, reciprocate. Learn to become the act of not what you're just receiving from it, but what you're willing to give, and know and trust you're receiving more as well. So in the name of that additional giving, which for me is always a bonus, and another one and another one, I want to read the heart transmission message for all of us, right? And then the video finally ends. And again, it's a long one, so what can you do? The white heart says it's already perfect. Here it goes. Your heart is capable not only of giving and receiving love, but of connecting you to a great network of beings that resonate in the higher frequencies of divine love. Through your heart, you can receive information and guidance from networks of light that fill our universe. As you learn to open your heart to receiving these transmissions, your ability to work with group consciousness in a loving way increases. You shall affect humanity in a loving way, influencing the collective rather than allowing the lower frequencies of the collective to overwhelm you. And you see, that's the thing. If you feel pressured by the collective in the term of poverty consciousness, I'm not going to get enough. Oh, so acting from that fear mode, you would create, again, something that does not resonate you, like me doing something monetary in that way. Then again, breathe it out, because it has to come from you directing the new collective, you creating the new collective. It's so important. Working with group energy is a leap on the spiritual path with risk, but also great reward in terms of empowerment to manifest your life mission. The risk with group energy is mitigated when you approach it from the heart rather than the head. The mind can argue one point of view and then immediately and convincingly argue its opposite. The heart, however, either feels something resonates or it doesn't, whether or not there is a logical explanation for it or not. The mind can be seduced by those who tell you they have great spiritual power. Sorry, it's funny. But this will instantly trigger intuitive warning bells in your heart for those with genuine power to do not need to convince you of it. You just share. You're just love. And love, I always say, love always recognizes and knows its source. The heart is the key to deciding where you offer your devotion. When you offer devotion to the group consciousness that loves you unconditionally, your heart feels safe, loved, and an inner knowing of the rightness of that group for you. And you are my group, and I love you all so much. And we are the group for the other groups that are tuning in, and it's all one group in the end, right? So whether that group exists on the earthly plane or in a spiritual dimension, For as long as it gives your life, broadens your horizons, nourishes your truths, and empowers you to live your destiny, that group is serving you. And I know my group, my oversoul complex, and it's just amazing stream of light, and I know it. If you do not experience these positive effects, if you feel drained, confused, or that your issues are not resolving as you work with this group, listen carefully to your heart and question whether it is indeed the right place for you to be. It is important to also work with groups that you can serve. Although you may love your family, for example, they might not be the group you can best serve. Perhaps those who are open, willing, and receptive to your spiritual gifts are outside your family. Perhaps your family can benefit spiritually from you in the role of mother or son or daughter, but not in the role of spiritual mentor. That's being discerning. On the other hand, some groups may want to feed off you, but not learn to do for themselves. See? Not equal energy exchange. They may wish for you to give them the answers to their problems. Ooh, I had many of those, especially when I started Ascension Pioneers. They may not be willing to develop the trust, courage, confidence, and empowerment that is required to take responsibility for their own relationship to the universe, which is needed so they can grow in soul wisdom through their life experience. Your heart may guide you to withdraw your services from such people because you love them and want them to grow. Your heart will guide you to operate differently with different people. You may be guided to explore hobbies or interests that lead you to the next group that your presence can assist. The heart will also guide you when it is time to move on. The transmission of the heart gives you a truthful assessment of the interaction of your frequency with the frequency of a group. Is it mutually raised? Then this is a spiritually constructive connection. Is it diminished? This will not be so helpful. The heart empowers you to know when to work with others, for how long, and in what way. Trust it. The more you do, the more groups which can bring great benefit to you and to the planet can enter into your world. It's a beautiful message. Now we have an invocation here. I have gratitude now for the heart transmission that guides me through universal love into the group consciousness that can best serve the greatest good and my own divine destiny. I ask for protection, insight, clear knowing, and clear feeling to guide me through the many groups that I will love and work with spiritually this lifetime. May all my group involvements be constructive. May love, light, and power increase in me and upon the earth through all group work. Blessed by grace. May the unconditionally loving ones help all group endeavors attain spiritual success. Through my own free will and divine love, so be it. So that's that. And again, I wish to reiterate that if you in any way wish to mutually exchange energy through everything that I shared so freely, that means you give unconditionally. So there's always a donation button present. You can get the courses. That's how you contribute to my work, or get my art or crystals, whatever it is that you feel you want to put your own piece of the puzzle within the group. And thank you so much for being my group, for us being this group together. The true pioneers, we don't always have it easy, but like I said, for me, it's all about demonstrating this. And eventually, people will start shifting. We just have to really, really have the faith that how we're guided through our heart is the right thing. Even if perhaps it's not the easiest, the more knowledge sometimes you have, the awareness of this, the choices, the responsibilities will feel bigger for you, because with greater awareness comes greater responsibility. But in a way, because you're aware of it, you've chosen it. So it's given through you, and you can handle everything you're given through your soul. Thank you so much. I love this topic of the new earth abundance, and I'm going to write more about all these things in my book. So time to put a lot of time into that as well. If you want to support the writing of my book, you can also go and visit my donation page or support me on Patreon. I love you so very much, and you are my beautiful family of light. Take care, and lots of blessings. See you soon. Love, wisdom, and power as always.